pretty lies. Look me in the face, tell me that you love me, even if it's fake. 'Cause I don't.
Good day and God bless, Mom. My name is Angela Navarro from Bachelor of Science in Social Work 1B. So for today's video, I will be going to address all the given questions by our instructor from this JAC, which is Gender and Society. Many people identify as male or female and see their sex and gender as the same thing. But for others, their gender identity is quite different from the sex registered on their birth certificate. So to further analyze about this gender and sexuality in relation to our society, let us now then address all the questions in order for us to understand these things. Before anything else, let me first define what is this gender and sex. So in order for us to elaborate more how does the gender differ from sexuality, we have to unlock the term gender and sex and how also they differ from each other. So the terms sex and gender are often used interchangeably. To simply unlock these terms in my own words, gender is simply how an individual defines himself. On the other hand, sex is biological and dictated by one's anatomy, hormones, and chromosomes, meaning sex is very different to gender because it is fixed. It talks about the organ that the female or male has. And so going back to analyze gender, gender is complex, or it can be changed, or it is changeable. So example of gender is straight, lesbian, and the like. As I've mentioned earlier, gender it talks about how we define ourselves, how we see ourselves as an individual. So in short, gender is not innate in us because it is how we define ourselves, disregarding our sex that we have when we born. In addition, gender can be developed through interacting with the society. So here comes the sexuality. So sexuality, on the other hand, is the word used to describe our sexual feelings we experience towards other people. Living in the modern society, I observe that there is a parallel connection or a parallel relationship between society and gender. It is because society offers norms, culture, and other behavior that an individual should follow. So what does society consist? Well, it consists people, consists number of individuals, diversities of cultures. So in this case, if the person acts differently with the sex that she have, like what I'm talking earlier, it could be new for everybody, new for what is being told, especially when that particular society is very much preservative. So there goes the importance of how or why we should study gender and society, how they were related or how they affect each other. So the social construction of gender is demonstrated by the fact that an individual or groups ascribe a particular traits or values because of their sex. Yet, these ascriptions differ across within societies and diversities of cultures. Like for example, if that individual have an attitude or behavior that seems to be different from what society used to, then that particular person with his own gender identity, he might experience discrimination or inequality. There goes the conflict begin. An individual who act differently from their sex usually experience discrimination from those who doesn't. Not saying that a lot of us or majority of my society oppose the LGBT community. I was just saying that there are some people who accept them and there are also people who oppose them. So since society composed of people, we also need to understand and consider that there are a lot of people that surrounds you. We have to respect their decision, we have to respect their comments towards you, or respect each other's uniqueness, decisions, and the like, in order for us to have this peace and genuine relationship within our society. Gender determines what is expected, allowed, and valued in a man or woman in a given context. Most societies, there are differences and inequalities happen between man or woman, especially when it comes to decision making and the like. Only man and woman, also of course to those individuals who are lesbian or the LGBT community also experience discrimination, inequalities, and a lot of aspects. But then, gender issues will then arise if someone, or it depends how someone or how an individual sees the situation in a particular policies. In short, how they react to changes, interventions, and policies. Lastly, my reflection about this topic, gender and society, and how are they related. It is important that people recognize that for individuals, gender and sexuality that it is not inherently linked, and that assumptions should never be made about one's sexual orientation based on their gender and vice versa. Instead, people need to feel free to define their gender identity, their sexual orientation in a way that feels best to them. We may be born in this world with a certain sex that we have, but it is always upon us on how we're going to deal with this particular sex to show to the world who we really are as an individual. If you're in a situation that you are in gender identity crisis, as long as it makes you feel good, comfortable, valued, and accepted, then go for it. That could be all. Thank you and God bless, Mom.